And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel, and today we're taking a look at 10 Days in the USA. Now this is a game that I've reviewed maybe a decade ago. 10 Days in the USA, 10 Days in Africa, 10 Days in Asia, 10 Days in Europe, and 10 Days in South America. These were all released by Out of the Box Publishing in a series of games called the 10 Days series. This is a re-release of 10 Days in the USA because Out of the Box Publishing is no longer in existence and this game is out of print. This is from Broadway Games in China. I have English rules for it, and as time goes by, you'll probably see an English version of it coming your way. I wanted to talk about this game because I think it's a classic, what I call gateway game, a way to get people into playing games. It has a bit of Racco to it to a degree, where you're trying to rearrange tiles to form a trip across the USA, and it teaches geography. Of course, you may not want to know geography. You may not want to be educated as you play a game. Doesn't matter. It's a fun game. Here's how it plays. The goal of this game is to make a 10-day trip across America. And the way you're going to do that is by having tiles. This is a legitimate 10-day trip. So you'll see this trip starts and ends in a state, because that's how a trip has to go. It starts in Idaho, ends in Pennsylvania. So you go on foot from Idaho to Oregon. And if we look at a map of the United States, which one is provided here, you'll see that I can go from Idaho to Oregon because they are adjacent to each other. If something's adjacent to each other, you can move into it via foot. I then fly from Oregon to Utah, and I can do that because they're both yellow states, and I put a yellow airplane in between them. I then fly to Hawaii. Hawaii is purple, and so is Alaska, because no states are adjacent to them. So any color airplane can be used to fly to them, except the state it starts with. So this has Utah's yellow. I need to fly with a yellow airplane, and then I can go to Hawaii. Hawaii then taking a blue airplane to go to Massachusetts. Massachusetts takes a car to Pennsylvania. So a car is essentially just a wild state. So when I'm looking at the board here, you can see that I have Massachusetts here, and then I'll say New York is the car moving down into Pennsylvania. And so this is, if you have this on your turn, you win the game. At the beginning of the game, players are going to take turns drawing tiles one at a time and placing them in their board. Now, as you place the tiles in your board, you're going to try to place them in such a way that everything works out perfectly. But the fact of the matter is unless you get very lucky, and I've seen it happen once, all the tiles are not going to be able to match each other as you put them in, because you have to decide where it goes as you pull each one. So that's your starting spot. Players are then going to take turns by using this tray here. On a player's turn, they can draw one of the face-up tiles, or they can draw the face-down tile. Once they take that tile, Alabama, I can say, all right, I'm going to put Alabama here. Then discard this on top of one of these three tiles. Or I might draw a tile and say a blue airplane. I don't want a blue airplane, and just simply discard it. You can always draw the top tile from one of these piles. But if a pile is ever empty, then the spot that you put the tile in has to be where that empty spot was. That's it. You're just going to keep taking turns. This pile may run out eventually, in which case you take all these piles, leave the top one in each spot, and shuffle the rest, and then they become the new draw pile. First person to get a legitimate 10-day trip is the winner. Okay, so here is the board of the game, but it's not actually a game board. It's more of a reference board. It's one of the few boards that you don't see. What it does is it shows you one of the more unique things that happens in that state, whether it is Carhenge here in Nebraska, which is really close to where my father lives, the St. Louis Arch there in Missouri, and so on and so forth. The cards themselves will have the same thing. They'll list here Statue of Liberty, New York. It shows you on a small map where New York is. I almost wish that the picture of the thing was smaller and they made the map slightly bigger, but that's pretty much my only problem with it. The tiles are decent. They're not amazing, but they're decent quality. But I really am a big fan of the artwork. These trays that players have hold the tiles pretty nicely, and then you can stack them inside each other when putting them in the box. Overall, I'm very happy with the production. Well, there you have it. That's 10 days in the USA. It works really well. Now, yes, there is the possibility that your opening thing, you'll get all 10 days. Like I said, I've only seen it happen, I think, once. And I've seen it happen once where someone got it with one tile. Usually it takes a while. You're trying to set these up and you'll find yourself 7 or 8, no, maybe not that many, maybe just 5 or 6 tiles out of order. And you sit there and you're trying to draw tiles to the right point to put them in order. I like this game. Not only is it educational for kids, but it's fun, and it's a really lightweight game. It's the kind of game that you can draw from and put them in and talk with other people at the table. It's the kind of game I would take to an old folks home or take to our family get together and have everyone play. This game really works well, and it's phenomenally just as good with 2 players as it is up to 4. It's a nice back and forth game. You can have a lot of fun even with 2 players. You could just play 20 days in the USA and just put 2 trays in a line and have to go through all of them. Neat idea, neat concept with a nice graphical overhaul. This is one that I recommend a lot of people check out. That's 10 days in the USA. Dice Tower Judgment approved!